Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be showing you a new fish that I'll soon be adding to my 180-gallon South American tank that recently had a facelift. And then also, I need your help on this one, guys. I'm just entertaining the idea at this point, but I'm thinking of possibly turning my 240-gallon African cichlid tank Alcatraz into a New World cichlid tank.
What?
Stick around to the end of the video and I'll be showing you some beautiful New World cichlids from subscriber David Sears' tank. Here we go. As many of you already know, I recently added an electric blue aquar to the mix on my 180-gallon tank, and I absolutely adore that fish. I also plan on adding some angelfish to the tank eventually, but right now it's almost impossible to find them online, and that's if you're looking for standard fin angelfish, and I want veil fin, and that makes it even more impossible. There's also a fish that I would like to add to the tank that's in quarantine right now. That's a fish I've always had in my community tanks. He's a wonderful addition to just about any tank. He's the beautiful, stunning red-tailed shark.
Let me preface this part of the video by saying that I'm going to crush any comments telling me that I need to escape this tank pronto. It's a quarantine tank. Come on, man. I drove all over for this guy, going to a few different stores, and finally found him at a local fish store called Northwest Seed and Pet in Spokane, Washington. When I used to have community tanks, the red-tailed shark was always one of my favorite fish, no matter what else I stocked the tank with. And it's hard to find a more beautiful non-cichlid freshwater fish with that deep black body and that striking red tail. The largest one I ever had was about 4 inches long, and typically they haven't been troublemakers, but my last one exhibited more of the traits you read about that you should be aware of. Their mouths are really small, so most of the fish aren't in too much danger of getting eaten or pecked at by this guy. No, his chief weapon, when he puts his mind to it, is the chase. That's right, he loves to set his targets on somebody and then chase them around. And not just for a few seconds. No, we're talking insane chasing. Almost non-stop.
Stop following me!
And that's how they get you. They'll just hound you until you're exhausted and die. So if you get one, keep an eye on him. I got my eye on you, mister. Oh, and one last reminder, just a quarantine tank, no escaping needed. Are we good? Good.
Now on to more controversial matters. Now, if you know me, you know that I love my African cichlids, and I love the tank.
A little too much.
So why would I consider changing that over to a New World cichlid tank? And just in case you don't know, by New World cichlids, I just mean South American and Central American cichlids. So why would I change this tank over? Well, there are a couple of reasons why I might consider this, and the first one is the aquascape.
You will subscribe. Ding ding. I can't tell you how many times I get comments like, "What a waste of a tank," or "Escape that tank immediately, sir," because I don't have a lot of decor in this thing. If you're into African cichlids, then you know. I mean, you know, right? The inmates of Alcatraz and all peacocks and haps love open swimming space. And they swim fast. You don't want anything blocking their path because first of all, they don't like it, but second, they can poke an eye out on your pretty decor. I shouldn't even really have this much in the tank, but it was too boring for even me, so I bought some fake rocks. When I had real rocks, they suffered too many eye injuries, so I got rid of them. The rocks, not the fish. I robbed a bank and bought these from Aqua Decor. I'm not telling you which bank. And I think this tank looks good, but does it look this good? I don't think it even comes close. And now that I've been staring at this tank almost every minute I'm home because I can't stop gawking at it, my mind keeps drifting to a world where I have an 8-foot-long tank with some actual scaping in it. And I'm not a great scaper, mind you, I'm more of a special needs scaper. And I kinda got lucky with my South American tank, but I think I could do better than a few rocks on the bottom.
No.
This is the tank you see when you walk in the front door too. It makes a good impression now as it is, but if it looked more like my 180?
I suppose.
What do you think about that? If you have a minimalist decor style in your tank, do you ever get bored with it? What do you think of Alcatraz as it stands? Please let me know.
So besides the aquascape, there's another reason why I might consider switching this tank over to a New World tank. And that's because a lot of the fish that I want from South and Central America are huge fish. They're 12 inches, 14 inches long, and there's no way I'm putting those fish in anything less than an 8-foot-long tank. And that might even be too small for a lot of those. So if I'm going to have those fish at any time in my life, the only place I can put them is right here.
Let me show you something. I don't have any video, so you'll have to settle for some measly photos.
Get over it.
Some of the really cool New World cichlids that I'll never have unless I change over this tank include the true parrot, Love this one. Probably my absolute favorite. Don't you think his mouth looks a little bit like a raptor from Jurassic Park? Come on, you know it does. And I've always heard about how puppy-like Oscars are. They greet you when you get home, play fetch, heel, play dead, the whole 9 yards. Some of you may have your Oscar in a smaller tank than mine, but I feel a fish this size needs at least 8 feet, and I'd prefer even if my tank was a little wider front to back than it is. But I think it would still be fine. And don't forget fish like the Jack Dempsey, who looks like he was bedazzled by God with actual jewels all over his body. And the Texas cichlid, firemouths, and others. In my dreams, I would have 2 tanks large enough to house these types of fish and keep my Africans. But that's just a dream. Not keeping tanks in my garage either, if that's what you're thinking. That's Ben Ochart's thing, and Ben, you do it very well. Don't have room, and I'd never go out in the garage to hang out with my fish. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could you give up on your fish?
You're a monster!
Well, one thing about African cichlid keeping is that you have to do a lot of rehoming of your fish. If they go crazier and more violent than they normally are when they're crazy and violent, then sometimes you just have to give them a new place to stay. So I'm a little used to it, yeah. But what about Gary, you may say, my lovely Venustus? Or Ferk II, my mentally challenged, even for a fish, Versicata? And even worse, what about Zeke, the best fish that ever lived? Could I hand him off to a stranger who might be harboring some very dark and deranged secrets? Possibly even more dark and deranged than my own dark and deranged secrets? I don't know, and if I could, it would still be really sad. I'd always be wondering, are they okay? Are they lying all beat up at the bottom of some too small tank with dismal water quality? With no controller for their heater? And guys, if you've been watching my videos and you still don't have a controller for your heater, then something's wrong with you. Giving them up would be a very unpleasant thing for me to do. And honestly, I don't know if I could do it.
One thing about the New World cichlids that I really like is that even though they're really big and aggressive, they tend to move a lot more slowly than the Africans do. And I think if you combine that with a really cool aquascape, it's just more of a, gives you more of a feeling of tranquility when you're watching the tank. And that appeals to me right now. So if I don't turn Alcatraz into a New World cichlid tank, what are my other options? Well, I know a lot of you have said just get more tanks, and I would love to get more tanks, believe me, and I probably will. But I can't get a tank big enough to fit those fish in that I want, so it'd have to be maybe a 6-foot long tank max. And the largest fish I could fit in a tank like that, comfortably for me, would be an 8-inch fish. So what are some good options that you can think of for a tank that size with fish that large, with that limitation? I've been looking online and I can't find anything super cool that I would want to add. Let me know what you think. And real quick, let me show you the room that's recently become available since my daughter moved out. And I'm thinking of turning this into a fish room.
Since my daughter abandoned us and moved out, we have this luxurious space that needs new purpose. What could I do with a completely barren room? You can never replace your kids once they're gone. So I'm thinking of replacing her with a bunch of fish tanks. I'm thinking this wall could hold a 125 at most without seeming too crowded. I'd have to add some support under the joists for that kind of weight, even though it's an outside wall. Work.
Ew.
Probably worth it though. Definitely worth it. And over on this side, maybe I could put some smaller tanks, even considering a 90-gallon discus tank. Discus, scary. Very picky fish. Anywho, I can keep fish in this room, just not anything large enough for my dream New World cichlids.
I am taking into consideration that New World cichlids are a totally different beast from Africans. Africans have their own brand of crazy, but these South Americans and Central Americans, they take it to a whole new level. So instead of your normal Charles Manson-ish behavior with the Africans, it's like you then gave him some angel dust and said, here you go, have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
So I know I may not be able to keep all the New World cichlids in the same tank together without killing each other. If you don't already know, I've recently been offering to show everyone your tanks, subscriber tanks on this channel, so everyone can kind of get a feel for what the community has out there. So here we go, let's take a look at Dave Sierra's tank.
Would you just take a look at Dave's 210-gallon glass South American tank? It's lightly scaped with some stones and some driftwood, keeping it simple and clean looking. I'm a fan of this type of scaping actually. The lighting is provided by a 72-inch current USA light on a 24-hour timer. It starts at 11 a.m., ramps up to full power by 1 p.m., and then starts the decline to darkness around 7 p.m. If you have a ramp-up time on your light, it helps keep your fish from getting spooked and possibly darting into the glass panel when it pops on. That can kill your fish, by the way. This guy here is a Madagascar Starry Night. They get about 10 to 12 inches in length and are covered with those cool silvery blue spots. Oh, don't get confused and treat your starry night for ick though, because these spots ain't falling off. An ambush predator, they wait for smaller fish to swim by and then gobble them up whole. Nice. They're a bit on the aggressive side, so choose their roommates wisely. What you're seeing now is what's called a red shoulder severum, and this is one that I'd love to have in my South American tank. Severums are great, and this one is probably my favorite of all the different types. They can make a solid buffet of your plants though, which is why I don't have one. Even with my epiphyte plants that fish tend to disregard, I still don't want to take the chance. This is a great looking dude. Dave feeds his fish a regular diet of a mix of PE freshwater flakes and pellets combined with Northfin cichlid pellets. They get a tasty treat of frozen bloodworms and frozen mysis shrimp once a week. Once a day feedings are doing the trick right now, skipping Mondays for a day of fasting. Here's another of Dave's 4 severums, and this one's a turquoise one. Very nice. I haven't really seen these guys before, so it's nice to see Dave's. You can find severums in the big box stores, but I think quite a few fish keepers are surprised when they wind up with a full-grown 8 to 10 inch fish when it's all said and done. This tank is also home to a red-spotted gold severum and an orange shoulder severum as well. Have you heard of rainbow cichlids? Well, I was happy to see this one because I've been eyeballing one for a while now. They don't get more than 6 inches or so, and they're not too aggressive, so I think this would make a good addition to my 180 gallon tank. What say you? Should I get one of these fellas for myself? Oh, and hey, the reason why the water is so clear is because Dave is using 2 FX6 canister filters with great filter media, including some ChemiPure Blue in both of them. He has dual high door pumps, pushing the detritus toward the filter intakes so they can suck it up. Good filtration is the key to crystal clear and healthy water, as I'm sure you already know. And here are a few electric bluicars looking very nice. One last spotlight here on this guy, Dave's L241 Galaxy Pleco. I think it's cool that Dave has a Madagascar Starry Night with spots all over him, and then this guy, Starry Night in the Galaxy. Cool combo. I'm not a huge Plecostomus fan, but this one here's a great one. They get almost a foot long though, so don't get this guy if you have a smaller tank. And by the way, if you'd like to have your tank showcased on one of my upcoming videos, just send a photo of your tank to cichlidcharmer@gmail.com and make sure your phone can do 4K video if your tank is selected. Great looking bunch of healthy and happy fish, Dave. Thanks a lot for sharing them with us.
All right, guys, thanks a lot for hanging out with me. Do you think that red-tailed shark will be a good addition for my 180 gallon tank? And share your opinions on whether or not you think I should change Alcatraz into a New World tank. I really care what you think. And why don't you tell Dave Sierra what you think about his fish? You've been watching the Cichlid Charmer, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.